Good afternoon and welcome to the December edition of the Lotsa Helping Hands Caregiving Inspiration Series. As many of you know, we launched this series over the summer as a way to provide, caregiving inspiration to those caregivers and members of our Lotsa Helping Hands communities who are juggling so much and are looking for resources, looking for new services, products, and inspiration during their journey. We've had a really successful few months of this series, and I'm delighted this afternoon to welcome Dave Balch, who is the founder of Coping University. And Dave's going to be inspiring us all this afternoon, and I'm just so grateful that you'll be sharing your story with us. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Before we get started with Dave's remarks, let me just walk you through what's planned for this hour that we have together. And I'm going to share the agenda. Obviously, we've done a bit of welcome and introductions, except for I didn't mention who I was. I'm sorry. I'm Brooks Kenny, the Chief Marketing Officer and on the founding team here at Lotsa Helping Hands. And what we'd like to do is share just a slide or two about the Lotsa Helping Hands service. We know that many of you are part of a Lotsa Helping Hands community already, but some of you are here just to learn more. And so we want to make sure we leave you with a few things to be thinking about as it relates to Lotsa Helping Hands. And then Dave will be providing a really inspirational talk about his experience as a caregiver. And then today we're really fortunate to have a special holiday offer from one of our companies that care, and we'll explain more about that in a little bit, called Presto Services. We have a really special offer that we'll share with you at the end of the session, so definitely stay tuned for that. And then we'll wrap up with our contact information and all the different ways to get in touch with everyone involved with this month's seminar. So thank you again for joining us. To dive in, I want to just make sure everybody has a good understanding of what Lotsa Helping Hands is all about. We really focus on bringing together caregivers and volunteers through online communities that organize life during times of medical crisis or caregiver exhaustion. We know that caregivers, the 65 million of them across the country, certainly come in all shapes and sizes, caring for a variety of different circumstances and loved ones. But one of the things that they tell us over and over again is that they need help. They need help managing day-to-day life when they are put into a caregiving role. And so at Lotsa Helping Hands, we power online communities that really serve to help restore health and balance to a caregiver's life. And the service is really focusing on not only matching the needs of the caregiver, the help that they might need, whether it's meals on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or rides to medical appointments for their loved one, but also empowering their circles of community, those people in their life who have offered to help, their friends, their family, their folks in their religious community, neighbors and coworkers, all of those people who come around when someone is dealing, for example, with a cancer diagnosis. People come around often, don't they? And they say, wow, what can I do to help you? There's got to be something I can do. And very often the caregiver is overwhelmed with those offers of help. Not only are they overwhelmed by their caregiving role that they're now playing in their life, but they're also trying to figure out how to manage these offers of help. And those very well-meaning folks in a caregiver's life, they're trying to be helpful and they're trying to offer ideas, but we know that if they can be very specific and offer to bring a meal, offer to provide a ride, or offer to create a Lotsa Helping Hands community, these are ways that we can bring the needs of caregivers together with very well-meaning volunteers who want to support the family. And at Lotsa Helping Hands, we have more than 1.3 million people who have been participating in our private communities to organize that help for a caregiving family. So I invite you, if you are not familiar with the service, to check out lotsahelpinghands.com. You can hopefully find a place for you, whether you're a caregiver, whether you want to help a loved one, or whether you want to volunteer. You can learn more about our free service at lotsahelpinghands.com, and you can check out all of the resources that we do provide to our members, whether they're in a community or not. So we encourage you to be thinking about that. The Lotsa Helping Hands communities provide that, as I mentioned, that way to organize help, and we do that through a calendar, a help calendar that exists in every private community. And then there are also community building features that provide emotional support to the family, and then a vital information section within the community that really provides a practical way for the family to organize all of that critical information when you're going through a cancer diagnosis, as an example, and treatment. So a place to safely store and access your vital information from legal and financial and medical info. So all of that can happen in a private community website at Lotsa Helping Hands, and we encourage you to take a look if you haven't already. And that really sets the stage for Dave's remarks, as Dave, being a caregiver himself to his wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer. And you know all too well, Dave, the challenges that come with that, and all of the impact that being a caregiver includes. And so I think it's a nice dovetail to segue rather into your story, and I really look forward to hearing it, as I know our audience does as well. We've had an overwhelming, I should say, response to this particular Caregiving Inspiration Series, and no doubt it's because of your willingness and thoughtfulness in telling your story. So
Thank you.
I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to you, the main event here.
Okay, well, let me start off by thanking everyone for being here, and I want to also mention that this is a modified version of a program that I normally give live, and as a result there are some videos in here that unfortunately the webinar technology isn't quite up to being able to broadcast videos yet anyway, and so I've changed them to be still a series of still pictures, but you'll see. But I just wanted you to, it may look kind of weird if you didn't know that. So, you know, I really wish you could all meet my wife, Chris. She's really a character. We were in a restaurant one time, and a server walked by with a big platter of onion rings. Now, you know, we love onion rings, but we never order them because we end up eating them all, and then they make us sick. So Chris got a little twinkle in her eye. She pulled a $1 bill out of her purse, walked over to the table that ordered the onion rings, and said, "Could I buy one of those from you for $1?" Just complete strangers. She's funny. We laugh all the time. But it was a Tuesday night, and we weren't laughing. I was in the kitchen, and Chris came in and said, "Dave, I found a lump." Well, I tried to be Mr. Positive. And I said, "Well, remember a few years ago you had a lump? We had it checked out, and it turned out it was just a cyst. I'll bet that's all this is. It's just a cyst." It wasn't. It was breast cancer. When we first got the diagnosis, I remember thinking, I adore this woman. Not only do we laugh all the time, but still, after over 19 years together, even her slightest touch gives me goosebumps. And you mean to tell me she could die? How am I supposed to wrap my brain around that? You know, I wanted to be the caregiver. I wanted to do as much as I could. We talked about it. She said, "Yeah, do as much as you can." And so I thought about it. I was going to be making medical appointments, doing the driving, buying the food, cooking the food, keeping the house in order, taking care of everything that had to be done. And then I still have to make a living. And then there are the animals. We have a lot of animals. We have 2 horses on our property, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a really mean parrot. Chris has had this parrot since 1957, okay? And I can hear all the gasps out there on Cyberland. He just won't die. But, you know, she loves him, so I guess I'm just going to have to wait. You know, it's not all bad because we take pictures of people we don't like and we put them directly beneath his favorite perch. So we still have some fun with it. But all these animals are a lot of work, besides all those other things I mentioned. You know, horses have to be fed and picked up after, and they have to be ridden. Let's not forget that, because they need the exercise. Dogs and cats, you know, they have to be fed and picked up after. Dogs have to be walked. And the parrot, don't even get me started. So I thought about all this, and I thought, this is impossible. How am I going to be able to do all of these things? I just can't do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But, you know, even though I didn't think I could handle it all, I'm still here. And so is she. So when it was all over, I kind of thought about it, and I thought, well, how do we get from I can't do this to I did this? Didn't think I could handle it all, but yet I did. So I came up with 11 specific things that we did that helped us get through this. And that's why I'm here. I want to share these with you. I call them the 11 L's of caring and coping. And these are all techniques that we used. And the beauty of these is that they're not cancer specific. These are things that can help you cope with just about anything. So let's get started. I want you to keep the following things in mind. First of all, our situation was unique. And I don't mean just the cancer. You know, we had a lot of driving to do. We live in the mountains. We have snow to deal with. There's all kinds of things that are unique to us. So just because something worked for us doesn't mean, or was appropriate for us, doesn't mean it will be for you. A lot of these things are easy to say and hard to do. Believe me, I know that. So even if it sounds like I'm just saying, oh yeah, all you have to do is this, it's not as easy as all that. And remember, we are us, and you are you. So something that might work for us may not work for you, and that's fine. Here's the bottom line. Not everything will apply to everyone. Not everything will be something that all of you would want to use, and that's okay. Whatever works for you is what you should do. So let's get started. Number one is to learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, about whatever your problem happens to be. You know, a diagnosis of breast cancer, or any kind of cancer for that matter, can be pretty scary. And the thought of looking into it and learning more about it is scarier still. But here's what we learned. No matter what you learn, and no matter how scary it is, it's better to know than not to know. When I first learned how to ride a horse, no laughing out there, we were out on the trail riding down a beautiful dirt road in a forest with tall pine trees. It was a bright sunny day with big puffy clouds, and you could hear the birds singing. It was glorious. And then off in the distance, we heard a motorcycle, and my horse starts dancing around. And of course that scared the heck out of me because I'm trying to hold on to this thing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to turn the horse away from this big scary noise and he won't be so scared. And so I turned him around so the noise was behind us. And the woman who was leading the ride said, hey, what are you doing? Turn the horse around. Face the danger. Do it. I thought it was a really bad idea, but I did it. And the motorcycle came into view and instantly the horse calmed down. And I think that's a tremendous life lesson for all of us. Face the danger. If something happens that scares you, just grab it by the collar, look it right in the eye, and learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can about it. Because no matter what you learn, and no matter how scary it is, it's better to know than not to know. Okay, number two is to level with each other. Now, of course, by this I mean you need to communicate with the other people in your life that are very close to the problem, like your caregiver. Very important. You know, whenever you're going through something like this, you're going to have fears and concerns and worries and frustrations, and you need to be able to express those to somebody else. You know, it's a funny thing about human nature, but we lessen our fears when we share them. And you need to be able to share those, and you don't want to hear things like, oh, don't be ridiculous, that's not going to happen, or everything's going to be fine, just calm down, everything's going to be fine. You don't want to know that. You don't want to hear that. You just want to be able to express yourself. So the idea here is that each of you has to provide the other with a soft place to land, where they can express their fears and concerns without judgment and without any kind of comments. When Chris was first diagnosed, I said to her, you know, it just breaks my heart that you have to go through this, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. But you're going to have to help me help you by lightening up a little bit about the way things are done around here. You see, Chris is the homemaker, and she's a really good homemaker, and everything is perfectly clean and always in place, even with the animals. And if I have to do all these things that I mentioned earlier, plus take care of all of that stuff, there is no way I'm going to be able to do everything just right all the time. And that's going to have to be okay. It just is. And she thought about it for a second. She said, okay, that's fair. But you're going to have to give me a break if I'm cranky because I don't feel well. You know, Chris gets cranky sometimes. We all do, and she's certainly entitled to that. But the problem is that if she gets cranky and snaps at me, I take it personally, and then I get my feelings hurt. So we worked out a little system here. We call it the early warning system. So if I walk into a room and she's in a bad mood, she'll say something like, look, I'm in a really bad mood, so if I snap at you, I'm sorry. And then everything's fine. If she does or she gets upset, it's just like water off a duck. Doesn't bother me at all. Now we're starting off on this journey that we have no idea how long it's going to be, what's going to happen, and she's giving me my fair warning now. Very important. In that 30-second conversation, we set the tone what turned out to be 9 months of treatment. Actually, it set the tone now for 10 years of treatment. Now, we have some other ways of communicating, which I'm going to share with you now, but against my better judgment, but hopefully you'll find them amusing, if not also helpful. You see, we have no children. We have no human children. To us, our animals are our children, and we just adore them. And we discovered that it was fun to talk for them and say what we think they would have said in that situation. And to make it even more fun, we pick a different voice for each animal so we know which animal's talking. And we try to choose a voice based on some aspect of that animal's personality or something about them. So let me give you an example. This is Lily. Lily is a two-cat cat. And what I mean by that is Lily can tolerate one other cat in the house. Unfortunately, we discovered this when we got a fourth cat. And Lily reacted by urinating in the house. Now, I don't know how many of you have cats or are familiar with cat. Well, if you have cats, you're familiar with cat urine. It's probably one of the most toxic substances on earth. I've got a really good idea, just by the way. If anyone from the military is listening here, I think that the military should make a bomb out of cat urine. Really. I think once the enemy finds out about that, they'll lay down their arms. It'll all be over. Anyway, we decided that a good voice for Lily should be modeled after Arnold Schwarzenegger, because Arnold is the Terminator and Lily is the urinator. So here's an example of how we use this. I'm in my office at home. Chris comes walking in and says to me in Lily's voice, Daddy, how come you didn't put any gas in the car for Mommy? She just went to the market walking around smelling like gas. I know better than that, and I'm just a cat. So I said back to her, also in Lily's voice, which makes no sense whatsoever, but was more fun. I'm sorry, I forgot. Now see, she was able to express to me that she was unhappy that I didn't put gas in the car, yet we still laughed about it. Now, isn't that better than if she'd come storming in my office and said, how come you didn't put any gas in the car? You didn't put gas in the car. Sure. Sure, that's better. Now, another example is we have a horse named Kelly, and she has this really amusing habit of flapping her lips when she's nervous. Now, I've got a series of pictures here. I'm going to pop through them, and you can see her lip moving here. It sounds kind of like this. So I use this. Dave, Do these pants make me look fat? Ooh. And we laugh. Sometimes I get out of having to say anything at all. So these are some ways that we communicate. Okay, which brings up then third L, which is to laugh. Laugh. What's funny about breast cancer? What's funny about whatever your problem is? You know what? Nothing. There's nothing funny about breast cancer. But there is humor to be found in some of the situations you find yourself in because of the situation or because of the problem. And that's where you try to focus your energy. So let me give you some examples of how we use humor. We use it to relieve tension. Chris had to have a mastectomy. She also chose to have a tram flap reconstruction along with that. And rather than go into a long explanation of what that is, just trust me, we learned as much as we could about it and found out that she was going to be on the operating table for 6 hours and in the hospital for 4 days. Now that's scary. I mean, I get scared when I walk into a room where I can see a scalpel. So this was really a big deal. So we're walking through the parking lot at 5 in the morning on the day of the surgery, going in to check in, and she suddenly stopped and she went, "Oh no, I forgot to bring my boob." And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean? I'm right here." And we laughed. Now, it didn't change anything. She still went in and had her 6-hour surgery and 4 days in the hospital, but we laughed about it and we felt better. And that's what you're going for, is to feel better. We also used it to put others at ease. We found out pretty quickly that when we told people that Chris had breast cancer, they would go, and they wouldn't know what to say and they wouldn't know what to do, and it made everybody uncomfortable. So Chris decided to put a little humor into it. "Hey Chris, how you doing?" "I've got breast cancer, how are you?" Now, you know what? It isn't fall on the floor funny, slap your knee, fall on the floor funny, but it's just enough to let them know that she's okay with it. We used it to change things that were unpleasant into things that were fun. Chris had drains after her surgeries. Now, a drain, if you haven't had the pleasure, picture the end of a turkey baster. Clear plastic bulb with a cap on one end and a tube coming out of the other end that disappears into Chris. And the object here is for fluid from the surgery to flow into the bulb where it collects. And then my job is to empty that bulb a couple times a day into a little paper cup that has graduated markings so that we know how much fluid has been produced. So the first time I went to do it, I popped the cap and I started to pour. And, we all know the sound that liquid makes when it's going from one container into another. And Chris just said, "Oh, what is that? Oh, that's so gross. Stop, 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 stop." Because, she knew it was coming from inside of her. I said, "Chris, I have to do this." She said, "Well, I can't hear this." I said, "What are we going to do?" She said, "Let's sing, and then I won't be able to hear it." And I said, "Okay, what do you want to sing?" She said, "Well, I was born on Canada Day, so how about Oh Canada?" Okay, so I popped the cap and I pour, and we sang, "Oh Canada." That's all it took. We laughed. The bulb was empty, the drain was empty, and we went on. It was a perfect solution. And sometimes we just did it just to plain old feel better. When she started chemo, she got the speech, and I'm sure many of you who have been through chemo heard the same thing. In 2 weeks, your hair's going to start to fall out. And when it does, you need to get it all cut off so that the little short hairs can fall out naturally instead of all the long ones. So we went to the salon. Sure enough, 2 weeks, 14 days, it started to fall out. It was almost to the hour. It was really weird. And so we went to the salon and we tried to make an event out of it. So let me ask you this question. How often in your adult life do you get to see what you look like in a mohawk? Isn't that cool? 60 seconds later. Okay, number 4, to live in the moment. When you're going through a situation like this, there are going to be things that you can control and things that you cannot control. It's very important that you live in the moment and just worry about the things that you can control, because the things that you cannot control will drive you nuts. We live in the mountains of Southern California. We decided to, we get snow here. And I know it's snow in California, it's hard to believe. We get snow, we get rocks, in the winter we get ice. And we found out her treatment schedule was going to be 6 weeks of radiation every day, Monday through Friday, starting December 1st. So I started to think about that. December 1st to January 15th, we could get snow, fog, rocks, ice, all kinds of things. What happens if we miss one of her radiation treatments because we can't get down the mountain? What if we get down there and we can't get back up? What if we get stuck in the middle? I mean, it made me really nervous. And then I realized, you know what? I can't control any of this. I can't do anything about it. I can't control the weather, and I can't control the treatment schedule. So whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And that's when I came up with this little phrase. And if you don't get anything else out of this program, I hope you remember this, because you're going to be able to use this every day. Seriously. Don't go there till you get there. Don't worry about it unless it happens. Now that's really easy to say, but hard to do. But it's so important for your sanity. That doesn't mean you can't prepare. Now, we all wear seatbelts, right? So that's preparing for something we can't control, and so we prepared. If the weather was going to be bad, we made sure the car had plenty of gas. We brought food and blankets. We brought extra medications, and we made sure that someone was available to take care of our animals if we couldn't get back up here. Other than that, there really wasn't much else we could do. So it turns out we only missed one treatment, and it wasn't a big deal. Number 5 is to look forward to something. This is my favorite one, because not only is it the easiest one to do, but I think it's the most effective. When Chris was going through chemo and she felt her absolute worst, we got this postcard from a friend of ours on vacation in Tahiti. Can you imagine? I mean, feeling the way Chris felt and the way I felt because of the way she felt, we looked at that and thought, you know, that's about as far away as you can get from where we were, both physically and emotionally. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? Somehow, some way, I don't know how we're going to do this, but when this is all over, I'm going to take you to Tahiti. And we put it up on the refrigerator. And you know what? It gave us hope. When you're going through something like this, you think it's never going to end. I mean, this is your life forever. But in reality, it was going to end. And when it did, we knew we were going to do something really cool. And so we were able to focus beyond the end. Now, you don't have to do something as exotic as planning a Polynesian vacation in order to make this effective. You can do it by just planning to go out to the movies on Tuesday night. If you don't feel like going out, a lot of times you don't. That's fine. Make a big deal out of your favorite TV show. You know when it's going to be on, and make a big deal out of it. Make popcorn if you feel like it. Get cuddle up on the couch, light some candles, get the whole family together. Whatever would make this an event that you would really look forward to. Now that's something you can do, and it's inexpensive and it's easy to do. So look at this postcard again. I mean, just really stare at it and imagine that you can hear the wind in the palm trees and the waves lapping in the lagoon.
We made it!
Yes, we made it. And not only did we make it, but we stayed in the exact same bungalows in the exact same hotel that we'd been looking at on our refrigerator all that time. It was sweet. Now, a lot of people have asked me about this t-shirt I was wearing. That's not a t-shirt. Oh, okay. Number 6, keep your friends and family in the loop. This is really important. The reason it's important is because if you don't, they're going to bug you to death. We would be gone all day for treatment. We come home, there's 10 messages in the voicemail from well-meaning family and friends. Don't get me wrong. They care about us. They want to know what's going on. But the last thing I felt like doing was making all those phone calls and telling the same stories and answering the same questions over and over and over again. Drove me nuts. Then you got time zone problems and it's horribly stressful. That's why you need a website like Lotsa Helping Hands, because you can post all your progress reports and everyone in the community will be able to keep up to date on what's going on, and you don't have to deal with all those phone calls. So you may choose not to tell anybody, and that's okay too, because everybody, you have to do this your own way. The problem with that, though, is that eventually people will find out, and then then they're going to want to know why you didn't tell them. But that's neither here nor there. So this is really critically important and a great use for Lotsa Helping Hands. Number 7 is to let people help you. People want to help you, let them, but only if you need it. And you know what? I'm going to change this. Not to if you need it, but if you want it. Don't accept help that you don't want. Well-meaning people came in and offered to clean our house. Now that's really a lot of work. That's very generous. We didn't want them cleaning our house. We have a cleaning crew that we've been using for 15 years, and they've already broken everything that can be broken, and they already know where to hide everything after they break it. And besides, we don't want our friends going through all our stuff. So what do? Well, we redirect the energy. I really appreciate you wanting to do that. That's so generous of you. We don't need that. But what would really be helpful is if you made us some food. I don't like Brussels sprouts. Neither one of us like asparagus. Make a big casserole instead of a little one, because it's just as much work for you, but it's more food for us. And bring it over in something disposable, so we don't have to worry about returning your dishes. Well, we don't really cook all that much. Well, that's fine. We like the Olive Garden. I like the number 15 blue cheese dressing on the side. Give them an order like you would to a server. If they're not willing to actually, to go somewhere and pick up a meal for you, then, maybe they weren't all that excited about helping. Now, some people will come over, at least came over to us and said, we want to help. We want to pick up the horse manure. Aha! Now there's something they can do. That would be very helpful. But that puts me in a pickle as well, because my fear is that they're going to offer, I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to hate it. And then I'll feel responsible. Here's what I learned about that. It's not my job to protect people from offering to do something that they don't really want to do. And it's not my responsibility if they end up doing something they don't really want to do. If they offer to pick up the horse manure and I say yes and they hate it, it's not my problem. Number 8, limit yourself to one crisis at a time. When you have a situation like this, at any given moment, you're going to have a dozen problems you have to deal with. And your tendency is you're going to want to solve them all at once so that you can coast for a while. I hate to tell you this, I hate to be the one to tell you, but often the solutions to a problem create more problems, new problems. And so what ends up happening is you're never completely problem-free. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about, because Chris loves this horse named Kino. And the big problem that she was having was that we were boarding him about 20 minutes from where we live. And I know that doesn't sound like a big deal, but 20 minutes, when you work at home, going anywhere is a big deal. Come on, you got to get dressed. And then she'd have to drive the 20 minutes, and she might have snow and ice and rocks and all of those things I told you about before. And then when she gets there, she's got to run the gauntlet of all the other boarders, and they like to chit-chat and tell her all their problems. She just wants to spend some time with her horse. And one day she came home. She said, "Oh, Dave, this is just so awful. I hate all these people, and they tell me all their boring stories, and they don't care. Can we do something?" And I thought about it. Let's get rid of the horse. I cracked myself up. She'll get rid of me before she gets rid of the horse, okay? So we decided on making a major lifestyle change, and we built a little ranch about 5 miles from where we were living, and we could have Kino on the property with us. And that was going to solve that problem. And now we got a new problem. Because horses are herd animals. And to them, there's safety in numbers. So we're going to take Kino out of this boarding situation where there's 15 or 20 other horses. And we're going to put him on our little ranch all by himself. Now, we can't do that to poor Kino, can we? No. So what do? We got another horse. Kelly, the lip flapper. And that solved that problem. Now we got a new problem. Because we found the new horse that was just right too soon. And now I've got to pay board on 2 horses instead of 1. Okay, big day comes. We ride them from the old ranch to the new ranch. We put them in our brand new barn, close our brand new big gate. Problem solved. No more 20 minutes each way. Now we got a new problem. We got to feed them. Where am I going to get? And now you know how much they eat? Horses eat 15 pounds, these horses anyway, 15 pounds a day each. Where am I going to get 30 pounds a day of hay up in a mountain resort community? Well, we called around, got it delivered. That solved that problem. So we've talked about what goes into the horse. Let's talk about what comes out of the horse. We got 15 pounds a day going in. How many pounds do you think we got coming out? How about 50? 50 pounds each. I got a really good idea. I think you might want to use this if you're going to raise some, try to raise funds for charity. I'm going to start feeding them cash. Because I figure if $15 goes in, $50 will come out. If you try that, send me an email, let me know how it works. Anyway, what am I going to do with 100 pounds a day of used hay? Well, I had lots of options. One of them was to have it hauled away. So we've had a little dumpster put at the end of our dead-end street, and that was going to take care of that problem. Now we got a new problem. Because now, every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m., bam, 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 beep, 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 beep. The trash truck makes its appearance. And we have another problem. You know, the people who live across the street are retired morticians, okay? I'm not making this up. And I don't think they're used to a whole lot of noise, if you know what I mean. Think about it. How would you like to live across the street from angry, sleep-deprived morticians with a grudge? There's another problem. How are we going to get 100 pounds of manure into the dumpster every day? I don't want to do it. Chris can't do it. Well, it turns out that we have a friend with an 11-year-old boy that goes to a school right next to our home, and we hired him to come over a few days a week after school, and he does it for us, and that solved that problem, and now we got a new problem. He doesn't always have the ride home, so we have to take him, and guess what? It's 20 minutes each way. I'm not making that up. I wish I was. So the point is, you're always going to have problems, and the trick is to learn how to manage the problems that you have. Just deal with one at a time. Number 9, lift your spirits. Take time for yourself. Now this is mainly for the caregiver. Depends on what the problem is. You both might be able to. It's very important to take time for yourself. It doesn't have to be much. Could be going to lunch with some friends once or twice a month even. It's really important. What do they say on the airlines? Put on your own oxygen mask before helping others with theirs. And why is that? Because if you pass out, you're not going to be any help to anyone. Now, believe me when I tell you that this is probably, of all the L's, the hardest one to do. Because for us caregivers, it just doesn't seem right to be taking this time. And I have a real hard time doing it, and I have ever since their diagnosis 10 years ago. But it's really, really important. Number 10 is to lower the bar. And what I mean by that is, don't expect so much from yourself when you're going through tough times. You know, you just can't do everything you used to do. Give yourself a break. I had a friend who got breast cancer, and her neighbor, I think he was a Marine or a retired Marine or something, said, breast cancer, so what? Get out there and do everything you normally do. Chemotherapy? Pfft, just suck it up. I couldn't disagree more. Now is the time to give yourself a break. You know, work 40 hours instead of your normal 60 or 20 instead of 40. Let the dishes pile up. Let the grass get too long. You know, it just doesn't matter. Just remember that for now, and only for now, let good enough be good enough. Number 11, lose people that upset you. Now, I'm talking about well-meaning people who end up upsetting you when they're trying to help. So here's some examples, some types. We got the well-meaning but insensitive or just plain stupid. Hey, Dave, how you doing? Chris has breast cancer. Oh, gee, that's a shame. You know, I knew 3 women last year that had breast cancer, and they all died. Hello? I don't want to hear that. You know, you have to get good. If you hear it coming, you have to get good. Put out your hand and say, stop. Stop right there. I know, you know, you mean well, but I have a feeling this story has a bad ending, and I'm just a little sensitive right now. I don't want to hear it. And if that seems rude, well, that's too bad, because you need to protect yourself. Then you got the advice givers. Oh, breast cancer, you need to take a lot of vitamin C and ginkgo biloba. Yeah, right. Thank you very much. Then there are the fortune tellers. These are the people that tell you what's going to happen to you based on something that happened to them or someone that they know. We were in a restaurant. We were just having dinner, minding our own business. Somebody walked out, stopped at our table, and said to Chris, I just heard you're going to start chemotherapy next week. I'm sorry, I couldn't help but overhear it. Watch out for that 3rd treatment. It's the worst. I just about flew across the table and grabbed her by the neck. Why put an expectation like that in Chris's head? You know, it turns out that she had chemo every week. Chris had chemo every 3 weeks. Here's the thing to remember. The key to all of this. No 2 situations are the same. Everything can be different. You know, your physiology is different. The diseases are different. The doctors are different. The medicines are different. The technology is different. The geography is different. The weather is different. Everything is different, and it all plays in to the experience. So just ignore the fortune tellers if you can. Then there are the needy people. Now, I'm not talking about the ones who are begging me for something to do. I mentioned that, well, maybe I didn't mention that earlier. I'm talking about the people that won't take no for an answer. They need so much to help you that they just won't take no for an answer. We were at a party and a woman said, I understand you have to have radiation every day. I'd like to help out and take you down to radiation a couple of times. Now that's really generous, but Chris didn't want anybody to take her to radiation but me. I mean, she didn't feel well. She wanted to sleep, didn't feel like being sociable. So she says, you know what, thank you very much, but we have that covered. Woman says, no, I really want to take you. Chris said, no, thank you very much. I'm taking you to radiation. Okay, fine. We'll call you. Think we called her? Number 12 of the 11 L's is to remember that things seem worse late at night. Yes, I know, I don't count too well. 12, 11 of the 11 L's. I think we all know that when we're tired, everything seems worse than it really is. I mean, don't we know that, really? But the thing is, when we're tired, do we remember that? Every night before we go to bed, we like to kind of give the horses some carrots and tuck them in for the night. And since Chris didn't feel well, that kind of, landed on my shoulders to do. And sometimes I didn't get down there till 1 in the morning. And I'm down there, I'm thinking, oh, I'm so exhausted. I'm thinking, how am I going to get through another day of this? And the tears would come. And then it suddenly occurred to me, you know what? You feel this way because you're so tired. All you have to do to feel better is get some sleep, and everything will seem better in the morning. And by realizing that, I was able to take all those horrible feelings and just stuff them in a box and ignore them. So that's very key to remember, that things seem worse late at night. And if you're feeling really down and it's late at night, write it off to that, try to ignore it, and in the morning you're going to feel better. So that's all 12 of the 11 L's, and they really made a big difference for us. And here's what we went through that the 11 L's got us through. The big picture. We had 9 months of treatment in total, 81 medical appointments. We spent $10,500 of our own money over and above insurance, and we had really good insurance. And we drove 6,400 miles. 18 months after we jumped into that lagoon in Tahiti, Chris had metastasis all through her skeleton. 2 years after that, 9 brain tumors. 6 months after that, 2 more brain tumors. So now, here are the grand totals as of the end of June, just this past June. 122 months of treatment. That's over 10 years. 345 medical appointments that we've been to together. We've spent almost $85,000 of our own money, again, over and above insurance, and we've driven a total of 38,600 miles. Now let's put that in perspective. 38,000 miles is roughly the distance between Los Angeles and New York, and back 7 times. Let's put it this way. We drove 38,000 miles. Around the world is only 25,000 miles. So I'd just like to take a minute to tell you about copinguniversity.com, which is where we have assembled a really terrific group of world-class experts in a whole variety of fields who take their expertise and apply it to coping. One example here is Karen Buxman, who's a world-class humor expert, and she talks about how to find humor during challenging times. In other words, how do you find things to laugh about when there's nothing funny going on in your life? And it's a 1-hour interview. It's just fantastic. We have 10 interviews on the website right now. Each one's available in a CD. We have a store where you can buy them. We also have this program that you just heard, only recorded as a DVD in front of 1,000 oncology nurses. If you can stand to look at me for an hour. That's at handlemore.com. Handlemore.com. So I encourage you to go to copinguniversity.com and sign up for our monthly newsletter. That's the best way for us to help you on a regular basis and keep in touch with you with new developments. And I want to finish off with something very special. When Chris was going through chemo and felt her absolute worst, a friend of ours, dear friend Kate, had a hat party for Chris. And 30 people came, and everyone brought a hat and wore a hat. As you watch these slides, I want you to remember that every one of us has a hero inside. Every one of you has a hero inside. You need to tap into that hero and trust that hero. And you'll be amazed at just how brave and strong you can be.
would I do if I knew that I could not fail? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where fools and dreamers dare to tread, and never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave?
Well, naturally, they left the very best for last. Chris opened this last hat and could not believe what she was seeing. Just look at what these guys made for her. She put this on, looked in the mirror, and said, "Isn't this great? I'm going to Stater Brothers."
Today, if I were brave, what would I do today? If I were brave, what would I do today? If I were brave, what would I do today? If I were brave.
We got through this together. We used all 12 of the 11 L's, and they really made a big difference. Now you have them. Frankly, I hope you don't need them. But if you do, use them. Use as many as you can. And you'll discover, like we did, that you can handle more than you think you can. I'd like to remind you to please go to copinguniversity.com, subscribe to our newsletter, and we can help you in lots of different ways.
Wow, Dave, thank you so much. Words don't even really, I don't even know exactly what to say except how much I appreciate all of the stories and the information that you shared and the spirit that you used to share it, using humor and being so transparent and honest with our audience about what it was like for you. And I love the take-home message of don't go there till you get there. It's such a lifelong lesson that we can use in so many areas of our
You'll
life.
be amazed at how many times you'll use that.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you to
My
Chris
pleasure.
for allowing us to hear her part of the story as well. It's just amazing. I know that our participants today and those who listen on in the future will continue to spread those 12 messages. They're really impactful. So thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to transition now to a really special offer that we have each month in our inspirational series. We highlight one of our companies that care. Our companies that care are those companies that are doing innovative things for caregivers, and we work really closely with these organizations in order to bring new resources and opportunities to our members. And so the one that we are so delighted to be featuring today is Presto, and we have Peter Radsliff, who is the CEO and president and CEO of Presto Services. And Peter is really just a pioneer in developing consumer technology products for people, and he's the developer of Presto and has been a long-standing partner and friend to Lotsa Helping Hands. And Peter, welcome. We're so happy that you're joining us today, and we look forward to having you share with our membership the special holiday offer that you're bringing to Lotsa Helping Hands.
Well, thanks so much, Brooks and Dave. That was just truly an inspiring speech. It was great to hear, and we've been following lately, Brooks. Something else that's been inspiring all of us here at Presto, which is your, if you want to go ahead and change the slide, your new movement. Which is to join the Year of Helping Hands. I'm a Helping Hands community organizer myself, and as you know, and really, it's been such a it's a wonderful movement, and it's well articulated too. I mean, just having all of these different hands be able to help in different ways is just a wonderful thing, and certainly Lots of Helping Hands is a great tool to facilitate all of that. And what my company does is it creates just another tool that people who care for others use, and it really dovetails into this nicely. And I use Lots of Helping Hands with my own company's product with my 89-year-old mother-in-law, and it's very a nice synergy between the two. So if you would, so just to introduce Presto, excuse me, we have a computerless email solution for families who have a loved one who doesn't use a computer or who has a computer and who struggles with it. And it's a way for them to connect with all of their friends and family without actually needing a computer at all or even an internet connection. And it's called Presto, and we call it computerless email because really that's the way it works. And I thought I would take a moment and just sort of draw a diagram here of exactly how it works. And so this is oriented around 4 different concepts. And so we've named these people in our ecosystem here. The woman in pink in the upper left is Linda. Linda is a mom, and she's got a daughter, Bethany, and these are real people, by the way. And Linda can send an email to her parents over there on the right, Betty and Bob, from any email device. So that can be a cell phone or from a computer or whatever. And for her, she just sends an email to Betty and Bob at Presto.com, an email address that she chose when she signed up for the Presto service, and it goes through the internet, and it goes down to where it says number 2 here to the Presto service. Our servers are located in San Jose, California, as a point of interest. But what happens is that email goes just like all other emails, and it sits in our service, and we authenticate that she is who she says she is. We format it, compress it, and then we wait for a phone call from a very special device. And the device is listed here under number 3, which is the Presto printing mailbox. It's made for us by Hewlett-Packard. It's an inkjet printer that has a modem inside and connects to a regular phone line. And it has software on board that it's programmed to dial out 5 times a day, silently, connect to our service in San Jose, and then it pulls down whatever email or photos or documents or subscriptions that the users have subscribed to, automatically formats and prints it out, and then Betty and Bob on the top just hear a tone that's in essence their we've got mail tone, and they walk over to the printer, pick up that picture, which Linda just sent as a regular email using her Outlook account with an attached photo, but it comes out formatted more like a Hallmark card on the Presto printing mailbox. And it's really as simple as that. I mean, of course, there's a lot of technology underneath it, but the beauty of it is that both the sender and the receivers don't really need to know anything about that technology. It's just as simple as sending an email and as simple as reading a letter. And so what we'd like to do is just make a special offer, because we're so enamored with the Lots of Helping Hands community, because we use it ourselves, and I certainly do, and a number of other people here who work at Presto do. And so what we wanted to offer, well, first of all, let's set the ground rules here. Presto is a service and a product, so there's an ongoing service charge, and there's a cost for the printer. But most importantly, there's a 60-day money-back guarantee. There are never any contracts with Presto. And right now, if you were to buy the printer before December 16th, you not only get 3 months free, which is a $45 value because it's $14.99 a month, but you get free ground shipping, which is another $20. So that's a $65 value, and the cost of the printer is $99, and the ongoing service is $14.99 a month. And of course, people can cancel anytime. There are also some, annual programs that can save you a little bit of money, but again, never any contracts. So all you have to do is go to www.presto19.com to get this special offer, and we just wanted to extend that out to all of the Lotsa community. Go to the site, take a look. It gives you all the information about how people use Presto, and how it's really helped them with a lot of different caregiving tasks, and also just getting the whole family to communicate to their own loved ones in an efficient manner.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter. And I'm curious from your perspective, what would you say is kind of the number one value for that caregiver, that adult child who's worried about mom and dad? Is there a top one or two things that they tell you over and over again that make you go, wow, I'm really glad that we're
Yeah.
providing this great service?
Yeah, we've gotten so much feedback from our subscribers, and from the we heard from one family that was these are the users of Presto, so they're in their late 80s, and they said that before Presto, it was like the whole family was throwing a party and they weren't invited. Because all of the communication that was flying around between the grandkids, the great grandkids, and their own, their adult children was all happening on email, on Facebook, on Instagram, everything digital, and they didn't have a computer. And they just really decided they didn't want a computer. And so for them, Presto was perfect. And now they're part of the regular family email distribution list, so they get a copy of all of those little things that fly around different families. And part of Presto is a connection with Facebook too, so family members can just tag photos in Facebook and have them automatically delivered. So that's another really nice way to, sort of bring families together. So it's really the social engagement, or
Right.
the other way to look at it is the fighting social isolation aspect of it is the number one. But there are also the number two aspect are tools that are built into the system that can help facilitate caregiving, especially long distance caregiving. There are lots of our subscribers who create medication reminders that print out every single day for their parents, and that's an automated part of our system. You can even check how much ink is left in the printer remotely on the dashboard that we provide. So there's a lot under the hood, but it's all described at presto19.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being such an advocate for caregivers and for providing these services, and in particular, this special offering to the Lotsa Helping Hands membership. I really hope that folks take advantage of it and check out presto19.com. So moving
Thanks so much,
on.
Brooks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, I thought I had a contact slide here. There it is. I want to make sure we leave everybody with the ways to get in touch with all of us. Again, please go ahead and take a look at copinguniversity.com and reach out to Dave directly. Sign up for their free newsletter. It's wonderful. They also have a great service called Coping Quickies. It's a free series of emails, one a day, that gives you coping tips. So I really encourage everybody to check out the website at copinguniversity.com. You certainly can connect with Lotsa in all those ways you see in front of you. Most importantly, if you need help starting your community or making more out of the one you're in, you can reach out to us at support@lotsahelpinghands.com. And then, of course, you can check out the services of Presto at presto19.com. And if you want just general information, you can email them at info@presto.com. We are up against the hour, so I just want to conclude, as we often do, with our vision statement here at Lotsa Helping Hands, which is a world where everyone can give and receive help through the power of community. Those are the words that help us do our work every day, and with partners like Dave and Peter, it just makes it all the more gratifying. So we thank each of you for being part of our vision, and thank all the members who are listening in today live and those who listen to the recording for participating with Lotsa Helping Hands and supporting caregiving and the needs of caregivers in our country. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you next time.